My name is John Denver, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Windstar Foundation. What we're doing here at Windstar, what this symposium is about, is, to me, the most important thing in my life, at least in regard to the work that I want to do in the world.
In the late 70s and 80s, a number of citizen organizations came into being with goals of bringing about positive global change and empowering individuals to act. One of these, founded here near Aspen, Colorado, was called the Windstar Foundation. The key idea of the foundation can be stated in a promise to all the children of this earth and all the generations of children that follow after them, that they shall be nurtured by a planet as rich as the one that we of the mid-20th century were born into. This promise is based on the belief that there is more than enough to go around, so that right actions can lead to a sustainable future.
My personal vision is a little child of the future. You can put that child in any age you would like, but it's of the future, maybe my children's child, if you will. And that child is standing on a clean, pure, green, healthy earth, and she's standing there very strong, powerful, with her hands open to the heavens with a big yes, big smile. And out of the corner of one eye is a little tear along her cheek, and that tear is a tear of gratitude for the people of this era, the people who are alive today, that had the courage and commitment to take a step forward, recognize that we can change the world, and are doing that.
Can citizens groups really be an effective agent for change in the milieu of big business, government, and seeming impotence of individuals? We shall examine the Windstar Foundation to try to get an answer.
It's my privilege to introduce to you my dear, dear friend, Tom Crum. I really can't put into words all the feelings that I have for Tom. He is a true friend and partner. He's always there when I need him. Sometimes when I haven't even been able to tell him that I need him, he shows up. A true and dear friend, the co-founder of Windstar, simply one of the most wonderful teachers that I've experienced in my life here on planet Earth.
Tom Crum is an Aikido expert, a teacher of this 20th century martial art, and it's out of his unique friendship with John Denver that Windstar came into existence.
We had traveled together for a number of years and around the world, so it gave us a great opportunity to see that people were doing incredible things throughout the world, either individually or collectively, but you didn't hear much about it. As we got closer to the 1980s, we recognized we really needed a center. We needed to do this.
The place they picked was in the Roaring Fork Valley, long known for its beauty, spectacular scenery, and clean air. It was also a place that was a magnet for some of the best thinkers in the world. In 1978, the Windstar Foundation purchased 1,000 acres adjacent to the main valley. The parcel was roughly in the shape of a bowhead whale. And so began the creation of a learning center loosely patterned after the Renaissance universities of Europe. The basic idea for Windstar has been with John Denver since he was 12.
I had a lot of feelings, I guess, that I didn't know how to talk about that made me feel different from kids. I felt alone. And I spent a lot of time in the desert, and I spent there were some neighbors who had 3 trees, and I used to climb up in those trees and sit up there, and that's where I felt best and didn't feel so much alone. And in those times, I knew that I was going to have friends all over the world. And I felt, and I dreamed that I would have a place in the mountains that people would come to from all over the world, my friends. And whether I was there or not, they would find a place where they could relax. They could be with other people who felt like they did. That they would make, their friendships would come out of this. And that they would be able to go back to the world, to whatever their job was, wherever they came from, strengthened, rejuvenated, and really with a sense that that they were not alone, that there were people out there who felt like they did.
In the beginning, Windstar wanted to be universal. It wanted to include everything from alternative technologies to environmental programs to personal growth research to global conflict resolution. This universality was nearly its undoing. People had a hard time understanding what its true purpose really was. John Katzenberger has been at the foundation since Windstar's difficult early days.
The idea was to have people from many different disciplines come and be able to teach and study together and share ideas across disciplines, and to face global issues and problems holistically. And that was the original vision, but as its history has unfolded, it has begun to develop projects both on the land here and projects out there in the world that give it that grounding that you can point to, talk about, look at the results of some of these projects.
Certainly the most impressive of Windstar's demonstration projects has to be the Biodome, a year-round self-contained environment for growing food. Inside, the door opens to a magical transformation of place, to a climate sunny and warm, and a world of abundance. The Biodome started in the early 1980s when Buckminster Fuller, famous for his geodesic dome designs, proposed a new dome structure for Windstar. A demonstration model was built, and out of that grew the Biodome, an integration of aquaculture, horticulture, and architecture.
Bucky called it, in a simple phrase, a basket weave type of dome, and the name he gave it was a deresonated tensegrity dome. And the basket weave nature of it is that the structural members, they weave over and underneath each other. It uses less structural material than a conventional dome of this size. It has about 3,500 square feet of floor space, including the raised levels. The overall purpose of the dome is to create an environment inside that is able to maintain temperatures for food production on a year-round basis in a very cold climate. We have winters here that are very long. Sometimes it gets as cold as 40 below, and our growing season is only about 2 months. So, for instance, tomatoes and squash and melons of different types, these things cannot be grown outside here successfully because it's so cold. But by having the dome environment, you can grow them year-round. The large volume of water is actually 15,000 gallons between these two tanks. That amount of water can soak up the sun's energy, and then at night, in the wintertime, it can release that energy into the space and passively heat the space. So that stabilizes the climate of the dome. And once you have the water, if you grow food in the water, then you have an added benefit. We're raising tilapia and catfish, and we also have done a number of different kinds of hydroponics experiments as part of the aquaculture system.
Overall, the Biodome can produce around 750 pounds of fish and about 3,000 pounds of vegetables per year. This incredible yield results from the 3 tiered levels in the dome. Each level is its own microenvironment. Each requires research into what to plant, and when. In keeping with the self-contained concept of the biodome, an on-site renewable energy source was needed.
The electricity for the biodome comes from these photovoltaic panels that can turn sunlight straight into electricity. And what's unique here is that they're on a tracker. This tracker follows the sun through the day without having any motor. It just has a black can over here and here with a tube between the two. And as the sun moves through the sky, one can gets hotter than the other, the liquid shifts, and the center of gravity shifts, and as it does that, it follows the sun. This can give 30 or 40% more collection of energy throughout the day. This energy goes into the dome, is stored in batteries, and can be used to aerate the fish tanks as well as to run fans and lights. In combination with this, we also have a hydroelectric generator that runs off of our spring line that also puts electrical energy into the dome. So the whole dome, the design is based on renewable energies from the sun.
Perhaps the most typical response from visitors to Windstar is the overall sense of calm and well-being one experiences from just being on the land. Stewardship of the land has been a major part of Windstar since its founding. Most of the grounds is a wildlife refuge, but over the years, approximately 100 acres has been devoted to experimental agriculture, with research into high-altitude crops such as quinoa, and trying to discover methods to extend the growing season. In the past, there have been programs for students to come and learn and get hands-on experience in small-scale farming and land stewardship practices.
Sleep hard at night out here, because you work hard during the day. Here I'm going to learn how I will need to run a small farm, which is what I need to know.
No, I didn't want it there.
You wanted it?
I wanted it over there.
Over there?
We might have to really alter the way we look at things, and they're trying to get across to us that we may have to change our economy and the way we live if we do want that sustainable future, which is the goal here.
I've known that I wanted to farm for years, and because of my personal ethics about the planet, I knew I had to do it organically. And as I studied more, I realized it was more of a sustainability question than an organic question. And one of the few places that had an integration of all my concerns, my worldly peace concerns as well as my agricultural concerns, embraced.
That's it. I like this. Look at you, five fingers.
It's given me a very different approach than what I was trained in, because there's some real serious questions as to whether modern agriculture does have a long-term future.
The foundation has also been home to a variety of personal growth seminars, including Tom Crumb's Aiki workshops. They're based on the 20th century Japanese martial art, Aikido. The founder of Aikido, Morai Yoshiba, had a vision of world peace and harmony through his martial art, a martial art that resolves physical conflict without injury or domination.
Aiki simply means the blending of energies. It is accepting differences in a way in which something new comes forth. People can see that true power and true strength is not to clench fist. We used to think that we either had to do this to be powerful or we'd go into some sort of limpness and we acquiesced to life. We got run over either by another nation or by another business, if you will. And once you understand true power is not constricting. True power is opening up and embracing. It's acknowledging, embracing, and coming into center.
What we're going to do is lend, move, flow.
I take people on a physical level as well as just intellectual. Instead of allowing them to just debate intellectually whether principles like this will really work, I get them on a physical level, and I say, try this, see if this is strong. Now do it this way, see how that is. So they start from a very small step-by-step level to begin to integrate, not just up here to be persuaded, but in the body.
This means of teaching works something like this. A point is made, an Ike metaphor is drawn, and then the idea is experienced on the mat.
In life, what happens is you often have reasons to not go forward, right? This is a good one. This is one of those good reasons. How can I go forward? I got a gorilla on my back. And the gorilla takes all kinds of different scenarios, you know. It's your health, or it's your relationship, or it's your job. There's something keeping you from not going forward. Now, if you really get more powerful in life and you think you have to go forward, you may be able to do it, but you tend to carry this thing, and it's a fight. Maybe I can make one step, and then maybe another step. Right. Maybe I can't. Or I can choose to get centered. In other words, I've got to come back, not to get, you know, every time I'm moving, where do you think I'm moving from? Where it's holding. I mean, I feel this is the obstacle, so I tend to try to move from the obstacle instead of coming back to my center, which is here. Okay? So what I want you to do is I want you to experience, one, what it feels like to try to move from where that person's holding, which is getting caught up here, and then what I want you to do, which way is he pulling me? Back. Which way do you think I need to go first to get centered? Back. That's where my center is. I need to come back here. So I go. Ah, yes. So what I want you to do is I want you to experiment with that.
Every idea comes back to the fundamental notion that conflict is neither good nor bad. It is energy that we can either use for or against us, and that cooperation is certainly more powerful than competition.
I think most people, they need to check it out. They need to have some way to verify and validate these principles. And you say, you know, this really does work. That's transformative. That's powerful. In my book, I talk about various studies to show that cooperation is indeed a more productive way to go, both in education and in business. But most people haven't read those studies or looked at those studies and are in a culture, a normative system, a culture that continues to proselytize this idea of it's win or lose. It's you or me. And yet there are clear indications, studies, and actual personal experiences on a physical level and on a business or education level to show that the you and me approach is the most powerful and the most productive one. It's actually the most fun also.
It's hard to imagine, but the cameras are in the hands of leading Soviet journalists and television people. And the place is the Aspen Center for Environmental Studies. The Soviets are here as part of a Windstar-supported exchange program called Volunteers for Peace. It's obvious to everyone that blowing ourselves up in global nuclear holocaust is incompatible with a sustainable future. Even the threat of doing so in the long run is incompatible with a sustainable future. In the mid-1980s, Windstar decided to do something about Soviet-American relations. It saw a window of opportunity opening up.
There are enormous changes going on in the Soviet Union. There are enormous changes going on in our relationship, and it's impossible not to be affected by that. If you're a citizen on this planet, certainly a citizen of this country. I've had several trips to the Soviet Union, an ongoing relationship, and a great interest in working on some of these things and furthering that relationship.
As one of the Soviet journalists said, it's exchanges like this between the two countries that destroys the lie that keeps us separate. Another, Alexander Chiparukin, has his own way of putting it.
The main thing is the possibility for our people, our both two people, in this case Americans and Russians, understand each other better, and not only to make peaceful gestures, we are for peace, and I don't like this. And sometimes it's necessary, but I don't like this. But to establish much more profound understanding. And when we do it, we see that we are the same people. I think Russians and Americans are very similar. And nevertheless, our systems are so different, and I think that our people, many years, was separated from the rest of the world, and only a few people had the possibility to go and to see.
One of the key figures in U.S.-Soviet exchanges has been Yevgeny Velikov, Vice President of the Soviet Academy of Sciences, member of the Supreme Soviet, top advisor to General Secretary Gorbachev, and winner of the 1988 Windstar Award.
It is not necessary to fly to space to meet another new and hostile planet like Mars or Venus. In 50 years, we have chance to meet this planet on our Earth if we not take care of this Earth. And I am very happy with the work of the Windstar Foundation and other institutions, especially this here in Aspen, which show us how to use the energy more efficiently.
Velikov's dream has been that students from all over the world could join together to build friendships that would serve as a basis for solving problems in the 21st century. As a start, high school students from the Soviet province of Georgia spent time with American students from Colorado Rocky Mountain School. Windstar was a co-sponsor of the camp and assisted the students from both countries in building a replica of the Windstar Biodome. Each student wrote what the camp experience meant to them and attached it to the biodome. When Velikov visited the camp, students read to him these poignant messages.
Through friendship, we'll be able to make this world a better place for everyone in all countries.
This camp is to make friends with people from the USSR, friends that are more special than anything else in the world. Together we will make peace.
I think this is great because after this our relationship will be warmer, peace forever, from Georgia.
So the relationship between Windstar, a citizens group, and the Soviet Union continues to grow.
Somebody gave me a Windstar journal, and I found this journal very good in every aspect. The main ideas, the graphic design. So I felt something like a mystical connection between myself and the Windstar.
Having a variety of images.
In 1986, Windstar started a new direction. The Renaissance University would expand beyond its Aspen boundaries. It would seek out a membership. It would launch an international symposium. It would form affiliate groups around the country and world. And it would start publishing a magazine. Cheryl Charles and her husband Bob Samples edit and lay out the Windstar Journal on a largely volunteer basis.
One of the things that I think characterizes the journal is that it is not aimed at a homogeneous audience, nor is it intended to have a single message. We're trying to reduce the zealotry of messages of people who feel as though that they're trying to make a change in the world, and instead trying to go for balance. And balance not only in terms of the content, but also balance in terms of the action that you can take upon it.
The journal is an exciting way to express ideas. We look at it as a means to provide nourishment for people, ideas to support folks who are probably really already, many of them, doing well in their own lives, but are looking for some sort of insight into a variety of things to help them make a constructive difference in their lives.